If you're too scared or intimidated to ride your motorcycle as a beginner, it is certainly a sign that you bought the wrong bike. A normal amount of respect for a motorcycle is healthy, especially when you're just starting out. Hell, I remember when I first turboed my Hayabusa, I had a lot of healthy fear and respect for that machine. But a crippling fear or reluctance to even get on and ride suggests that the machine might be too much for you at your skill level. Like if you let the Instagram squids convince you to get a ZX6R as your first bike and it's taken you over 6 months to get past the 600-mile break-in period, we can all catch on that you're probably too scared to ride the thing. Every year we see this happen. A new rider gets a 600 or God forbid 1,000 because they're convinced they can handle it, their friends talk them into it, or they think they're being financially savvy by buying a bike they can quote-unquote grow into so they won't have to upgrade in just a year or two. But then they swing a leg over the saddle, and after one twist of the throttle, they reach near apocalyptic levels of yeet energy, leaving them scared shitless. Getting a first motorcycle definitely requires an ego check. You can't just buy the quote-unquote coolest bike, and you certainly shouldn't be buying the fastest bike. You just need a bike that fits your experience level. Powerful, fast, and/or heavy motorcycles will create a much steeper learning curve for a new rider. The consequences of incorrect inputs will be greater on a powerful motorcycle, which creates a real challenge for a new rider who doesn't have a strong foundation of fundamental skills and riding habits under their belt. Consider this. Do you think that going from 0 to 50% throttle on a GSX-R 1000 or a Grom is going to have bigger consequences? Yeah, the big bike goes fast. If you're inexperienced and you made the mistake of starting on a bike that's too fast, you will sense the danger when you ride. You will feel like you're way in over your head, unable to confidently and safely control your bike. And you'll feel like you're a little reluctant to even ride it in the first place. That's why we always say that starting on too big of a bike really stunts your growth as a rider. Because you're not riding a powerful bike as a beginner, you're just surviving it. The right beginner motorcycle should make you want to ride. It should be manageable, confidence-inspiring, and forgiving because you're gonna make mistakes. You should be able to focus on building your skills like throttle control, cornering, and braking without constantly fearing that the bike's gonna just get away from you. When the fit is right, riding becomes enjoyable, not nerve-wracking. Being terrified when you ride your bike is definitely an indicator that you bought the wrong one. It could also be a sign that you bought the wrong motorcycle if you become uncomfortable very quickly after riding just a short distance. Of course, it's annoying to be physically uncomfortable, but can also totally impede your ability to focus as well as control the bike, which is both gonna throw a wrench in the learning process. Beginner riders should be focusing on building up a foundation of core skills, but if you can't concentrate because your back is killing you or your feet are going numb or your knees don't fit nicely against the gas tank, you're gonna have a tough time. The problem comes down to ergonomics. Different types of bikes cater to different riding styles, will offer different ergonomics packages that lends themselves to a particular style. Even bikes within the same category can have variance in handlebar, seat, and foot peg positions, which can affect the way you fit on the bike, especially if you're on the shorter side or the taller side of average. People come in all shapes and sizes, and so do motorcycles. So when choosing your first bike, you'll definitely want to take some time to visit the dealership where you can sit on different styles of motorcycles, because you might be surprised with how drastic the variance between different bikes can be. Sport bikes have way more forward ergonomics with lower handlebars with low clip-ons and rear set foot pegs, compared to something like a cruiser, which often have really low slung seats with foot forward controls and swept back handlebars. Or a dual sport or a baby adventure bike, which will have a very neutral riding position, with your hands right out in front of you with a wide handlebar and pretty much your feet right beneath you. I personally think that stance is the best for new riders. Just feet right beneath you, a nice wide handlebar at a neutral position. Seat height matters a lot for new riders too, as being able to flat-foot a bike can instill a lot of confidence. There's a direct correlation between the seat height of a motorcycle and how heavy it can be while still being confidence-inspiring for a beginner. Cruisers are often very heavy with their tubular frames and big, low-revving engines, and usually made out of iron and depleted uranium. But because they usually have a very low seat height, not uncommonly well below 30 inches, they usually carry their weight down low, lending itself to a low center of gravity so they can usually comfortably managed by a beginner. On the other side of the coin, dual sport bikes usually have a very tall seat height, usually 35 inches or more, but because of their super low curb weight and their very narrow gas tanks, a beginner rider can feel comfortable on their toes or leaning the bike over slightly while at a stop. If you're not comfortable on your bike and the ergonomics don't match your size or riding style, you probably got the wrong bike.
We, of course, love Rockform for their rock-solid phone cases and motorcycle handlebar mounts, but they keep adding more and more new accessories that allow you to capitalize and expand on your existing setup. With a Rockform phone case in hand, you can attach it to a mount on your bike, on the dash of your car, and now even on a camera tripod. As more and more people get into motorcycle content creation, the Rockform tripod mount is a super convenient piece of kit. The 1/4-inch threads attached to any standard camera tripod, and the magnetic phone attachment allows you to super quickly attach your phone to get the perfect shot. The base of the mount is magnetic as well, so you can quickly slap the mount onto a metal surface, snap your phone onto the other side, and set up a shot without even having to use a tripod. Rockform has an astounding track record for high build quality and rugged durability, and this mount is no different. With a super strong magnet, especially paired with a Rockform case, you know your phone isn't going to budge. Rockform's been a longtime Yaesu partner, and their support is invaluable. If you enjoy your existing Rockform products and have an interest in using your phone for photography or video, click the link below and check out the tripod mount. Yaesu viewers get 25% discount as well if you use the code YN25. So hit that link in the description, use that code YN25 for 25% off. Thanks so much to Rockform for the support. Now let's get back to the show.
Motorcycles are emotional purchases. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what the spec sheet warriors think. You can cross shop all you want in dissecting the value propositions for every model on Earth. But if your bike still doesn't give you that look back factor and give you that really special emotional response, you may have picked the wrong bike. Owning a motorcycle can be a complicated relationship. They'll cause you to get rained on, covered in bugs, and they'll drain your wallet as you pay for maintenance and farkles. Sometimes they might even leave you stranded if you run out of gas or pick up a nail in a tire. But all these emotional and financial hardships are worth it when you love the thing. When you can't help but look back at your bike as you walk away from where you park it, when you have to fight the urge to talk about it constantly as a massive point of pride, if you have to have a debate with yourself on whether or not the background of your phone screen should be a picture of you and your wife or you and your motorcycle, all these indicate that you're deeply infatuated. Learning to ride a motorcycle can be challenging, so having that bike that really has a special X factor can make those challenges worthwhile. It's like if you got a new puppy and it chews your riding boots and pees on your rug, but it also brings you joy and companionship, then those small sacrifices are worth the annoyance. If you did endless research before buying your first bike, watching reviews and reading forum posts, and have decided that a certain model will provide you with the best balance of accessibility, practicality, price, doesn't mean it's going to be a bike you're going to fall in love with. The spec sheet analysis crowd consensus only goes so far if it doesn't offer you an emotional appeal. All these experienced riders might say that the Ninja 500 is the best value beginner sport bike on the market right now, but to you, if it doesn't scratch the itch, looking and sounding like every other Ninja 400 or 500 on the road, maybe it's worth spending a little more and looking at an Aprilia RS457, for example, that has more character and charisma. There's always going to be an opportunity to buy another bike, especially as your skills evolve and your tastes change, but buying a motorcycle that promises to be the quote-unquote best option for a majority of riders isn't always going to get you as excited or enthusiastic about riding than a bike that provides a more emotional response. And trust me, when you've got an emotional response to a bike, you just know it. It can also be a sign that you bought the wrong bike as a beginner if you got something a little too small. While it's smart to start on a bike that's small and manageable, going too far in the direction of caution can backfire, leading to frustration and rapid outgrowing of the bike and even impede your ability to actually learn how to ride. The current swath of beginner motorcycles are all pretty sweet. 45-ish horsepower is a really great starting point that can allow you to safely grow your skills and learn the fundamentals, while not being so slow or underpowered that you're limited to just a parking lot or bopping around your neighborhood. Sometimes people are trying to be as safe as possible, which is great, but they go too far down on the power ladder and end up getting super bored or find themselves missing out on a lot of opportunities to grow skills. For instance, we often say that the Honda Grom is a super fun bike, and it certainly is, and it's a wonderful training tool for a brand new rider at the MSF, for example. But the Grom is more like a toy, a bike that should live in your stable as an accessory to other full-sized motorcycle. And again, while a Grom can certainly serve as a training tool, having all of the main components of a full-sized bike, like a clutch, a manual gearbox, and independent front and rear brakes, they only make like 10 horsepower and max out at like 55 miles an hour. With power like that, you're not really going to get a good idea of how to effectively ride in traffic, being barely able to keep up with the speed limits on the majority of roads in America. Not only will you struggle to keep up with traffic, you have no shot riding on the highway. Starting on a bike with a very small amount of power won't teach you effective skills like throttle control or progressive braking. If you're riding a mini bike, you can essentially be entirely on or off the throttle or brakes. There's no need to understand smooth or precise application because it doesn't really matter. But these limitations aren't just limited to mini bikes. There is a handful of bikes that are still sold that won't be as limiting as a Grom, but will still slow your progression. Some models that come to mind are the Rebel 250 or 300, the GSX-R 250, the Duke 300, or any of Royal Enfield's air-cooled 350cc bikes. These bikes are great training tools, good for putzing around town or city streets, but they're not going to offer enough power capability to really grow as a rider, and for some people, they might literally be just too small. If you're already shopping for a new motorcycle shortly after buying your first one, that might be a sign that you bought the wrong bike as a beginner. While it's natural to browse or dream about your next bike, actively searching for a replacement within the first few months of ownership often points to deeper dissatisfaction. Riders always talk about the perfect amount of motorcycles being N+1, meaning you're never going to be satisfied with just the amount of bikes you currently have, being N. But remember, ideally, your motorcycling journey will be long. With good habits and safe riding, you should expect to continue riding for many, many years, so there will always be an opportunity to get something different. Motorcycling is vast, and there are so many different fun and exciting bikes that are always coming out. It's always encouraged to check out manufacturer demo days, test ride bikes at dealerships if they let you, and see if your riding buddies will let you take their bike out for a spin. Because the more different types of bikes you get to experience, the better. But at the same time, there is a lot of value in appreciating the bike you currently have. It may not be the best tool for every job, but you may be surprised at what some motorcycles are capable of if you set your mind to it. You know, don't watch the long way around and then immediately put a deposit down on a BMW GS where you can strap some luggage on your current bike, install a phone mount and a windscreen, and hit the open road. The need to constantly want to upgrade your bike can come from two places. On the one hand, there's this sort of consumerist mentality that motorcycling is unfortunately not immune to, where you're constantly fed new, updated models that on the surface appear to be leaps and bounds better than what was available prior. On the other hand, if you're immediately shopping for a new bike shortly after getting your first one, you may have bought the wrong bike in the first place. Maybe you bought the cheapest bike on Marketplace and are just fed up with the repairs that it needs. Maybe you bought something that's just too underpowered for your city. Or maybe you got a sport bike thinking you wanted to cosplay as a MotoGP rider when a naked bike with normal gear would improve your comfort during your daily commute. So just make sure you take your time before buying your first bike, do your research, sit on different motorcycles, and try to make an informed and responsible decision that leaves you with the motorcycle you'll be happy with for more than just a couple of months. How long did you hold on to your beginner bike for? Did you trade it in for an S1000RR 3 months after owning it? Or are you a Sigma rider who's going to be on a 15-year-old DRZ for your entire riding career? Thanks for making it to the end. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here so you can stay up to date on all the new content we got cooking up this riding season. It's going to be good. Remember to check out yamanoob.co to check out all of our giveaway motorcycles and to get access to the Discord server, which is like a bike night that never ends. I'll catch you on the next one. Fact: in ancient Rome, wind chimes called tintinnabulums were used to ward off evil spirits and burglars with their tinkling sound and often featured risque designs. Goodbye.
Keep watching, Yami! No!